Today, we are going to talk about one of the strangest stories in world literature. The Nose by Nikolai Gogol. At first, the story sounds completely ridiculous. It is about a man who wakes up one day and discovers that his nose is missing. But behind this weird and funny plot, Gogol is actually saying something deeper about society, status, identity, and how much people care about appearances. So, let's break down the nose in a simple and entertaining way. Imagine waking up one morning, looking in the mirror, and realizing that your nose is gone. Not injured, not swollen, not bruised, just gone. That is exactly what happens in the story. The main character suddenly loses one of the most visible parts of his face. And instead of only being scared about his body, he becomes terrified about what other people will think of him. The main character of the story is Major Kovalyov. He is a government official who cares deeply about his rank, image, and social reputation. For Kovalyov, status is everything. He wants to be respected, admired, and treated as important. This is why losing his nose becomes more than just a strange physical problem. For him, it feels like losing his identity and his place in society. One morning, Kovalyov wakes up and notices that his nose is missing. This moment is absurd, but it is also the beginning of the story's deeper meaning. Kovalyov panics because his face no longer looks complete, and in a society that judges people by appearance, title, and rank, this becomes a huge problem for him. The missing nose becomes a symbol of losing control over how others see him. But the story becomes even stranger. Kovalyov later sees his own nose walking around the city. And the nose is not just walking casually. It is dressed like an important official. Even more absurd, the nose seems to have a higher rank than Kovalyov himself. This makes the story funny, surreal, and unforgettable. But it also shows how ridiculous social ranking can become when people value titles more than actual character. So why is Kovalyov really panicking? It is not only because he lost his nose. He is panicking because losing his nose means losing his image. His nose represents the way he presents himself to society. Without it, he feels embarrassed, incomplete, and less important. This shows how much his self-worth depends on status, reputation, and social approval. The nose is funny because the situation is so absurd. A man loses his nose, and then his nose starts acting like a powerful official. But the story is also a satire. Satire means using humor, exaggeration, or absurd situations to criticize society. In this story, Gogol mocks people's obsession with titles, appearances, and social status. He shows how ridiculous society can be when image becomes more important than identity. The nose in this story is not just a body part. It can symbolize identity, pride, and social value. For Kovalyov, his nose is connected to how people recognize him. When he loses it, he feels like he has lost his dignity and importance. This is why the story feels funny on the surface, but meaningful underneath. It asks us a question: how much of our identity depends on how others see us? So why should we still read The Nose today? Because even though it was written a long time ago, its message still feels relevant. People today still care about image, status, reputation, and how they appear to others. The story is weird, clever, funny, and meaningful. It reminds us that society can sometimes value appearance more than truth, character, or real identity. In one simple idea, The Nose is a bizarre story that reveals how much society values image over identity. It may seem like a funny story about a missing nose, but it is really about pride, reputation, and the fear of becoming insignificant. That is why The Nose remains one of the most unforgettable works in literature. For more simple lessons about literature and stories, follow Lingualistica. See you in the next one.